Mm.
And so here you are putting a huge flag up that I am this super relevant, diverse, check, 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 check. Come here.
Mm.
But yet we still have prejudice
Yeah.
within a wall filled with what you would think would be the most ideal relevant firm. So even in these places where we see this greater sense of empathy or this greater sense of inclusion, we're still seeing the same levels of lines being drawn in the sand and that sense of prejudice. So we have to think about how we're going to be called out. People will call bullshit on you when your corporate values do not match the activities, the actions, the brand promises that are expected. So think about, you want to put this beautiful label out there that you're this amazing, diverse, relevant firm, but yet you still don't allow certain people, certain individuals to bring their whole self to work.
Mm.
There's bullshit in that. You called it. You're absolutely right. So think about today and the generations when you've got, young men with their fingernails painted. I think it's super cool. My toenails are painted. I do it for my mom, who died a few years ago and loved to get it done, but I'm also an artist. I love it. What are you going to do when that business associate is there at a corporate meeting passing over a document with their fingernails painted? That's the world we're in today. Why does that matter? Because in society, we created a sense of that being a negative, that being something different that we are comfortable with. You've got people not wanting to sign an autograph, in the boxing world. I won't say any names, but, choosing not to sign an autograph to a young man because his fingernails were painted. Okay, what world are we in now when we're judging certain things like that? So these things will come to the office when you talk about bringing your whole self. So you have to think of it from a lot of different levels. But the generation that's coming in, they're comfortable with that. And they should be comfortable with that. I remember just having my ear pierced. Okay, again, 63 is when I was born. Imagine the time period and wanting to have my ears pierced, right? I remember going on field trips with my kids and they'd be, Mr. Eisner, why do you have two earrings? And I'm like, well, I want to be balanced. And I had one. I remember my boss calling me once saying, I'm going to get my ear pierced. Which side is the non-gay side? I mean, that's how society was, right? And the way they thought. But think about that today, right? Men have earrings more than I've ever seen that. So society has to keep evolving and changing. And we're in a place right now where it's physical and visible. And so we have to start thinking, how do we react to these things? So it's real and it's out there today. And if you don't sit back and think, am I comfortable with my server, with my mechanic, with my lawyer being a male and having his fingernails painted, or maybe wearing makeup? Why not?
Well, it's such a good question, Terry, because I think it speaks to the importance of empathy, definitely, humility in a very pure sense, to assume, to be able to question, to be able to say, why does that bother me? And to be able to actually give yourself an honest answer of what that is, right? What is it? Do you have a reason, or you have no reason? It's just not what I'm used to. Do you have a prejudice against gay people and you associate that with gay people? Or to where we were going before, what I found is that some people worry, and that's kind of where I went with the question before, of like, no. I mean, nails, maybe it's okay. It's an opinion, but where do we draw the line? Where do we draw? What if they want to? And I don't know. And it's a weird thing, because on the one hand, I can empathize with people, as you say, from a different generation who think that way, and I understand why that seems to some extent terrifying to them. Where is this going to go? Where is this going to lead to? But at the same time, at a very logical level, I find myself asking, like, where is it going to lead to? Like, what actually worries you? Where do you think it's going to go to where it's a point of like, oh shit, the world is fucked now? Like, if that happens. And I logically can't get to that point of seeing it. And that's where I struggle. I try and empathize with that side of it. And like I said, I can to an extent, but it's hard. It's hard to see why somebody would have an issue with somebody having their nails painted if they really dig down deep and say, what's the root issue there?
And that's it. It's how you dig down deep to get to the root issue, because on the surface, many of us don't care about that, but we were taught to react. And so therefore we react. The filters aren't there right now. We were brought up in a way that you don't need to have a filter. You can feel this way, but you really don't feel that way. You've just been brought up that way. Think about how we as humans, regardless of what level the person is that you're dealing with, still wakes up in the morning groggy, still has to go through their process, puts their clothes on, has their own issues they're thinking about, has their traffic problems, whatever that is, everybody. And that's also what the pandemic did. Everything got neutralized. We saw everybody's bedroom. We saw everybody in hoodies. We saw all these people that were on pedestals acting and dealing with dogs barking and babies crying. And all of a sudden, humanity got equalized. And that to me was huge. Now, how much do we hold on to that? Again, that's society, that's the cultures we live in, and those are the things we're dealing with. But when I went into, again, I'm a creative guy. I've always been a creative director. Look at my office, earrings, whatever the case may be. I've always been a very creative thinker and a creative person in the way I present myself. But in corporate world, I've always also come exactly the way that I needed to. Didn't bring those things to work with me, wore my suit. A lot of time when I'm on a stage speaking and I have my, my suit on, I have a slide that says, this isn't me. This is me over here, with the Mickey Mouse ears and Star Wars and dogs and traveling and my husband and my kids. This is me. And I feel that you have to kind of let people get comfortable with that, and then the dynamic changes.